I'm Clay Byrne. This is
And
Davin.
I'm Davin.
Davin, who are you?
Well, I like to make videos, like to record stuff, like to, I don't know, perform, do all that fun stuff. And I'm here today to ask some hard-hitting questions about real estate to hopefully figure a thing or two out about how do I sell houses, how do I get houses on the market? Let's figure it all out, Let's make some
Perfect.
money. That's what we're here for.
I love it.
So, for starters, I want to ask in, the age of the internet, 2025, should we still be cold calling people and trying to get, new leads that way, or what's our method there?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly one of the, it's a great question. It's certainly one of the methods you can use to reach out to people. Depending on where you are in life and what your network looks like and what your skills and abilities look like, that's definitely an option. But with the advent of AI and even before that, filters, it's another way to say it. And, you can be pretty particular about who it is that you reach out to. Now, I mean, you've got to follow the do not call registry and the TCPA. You have to be thoughtful and responsible about who you're reaching out to that maybe hasn't opted into your marketing already. So follow the rules. But there are people out there that are considering selling their home or may have tried to sell their home and weren't able to, that could benefit from talking to a professionally trained person about how to sell a house. But you just have to do it responsibly. But it's definitely a lever you can pull to generate some leads and some business. Absolutely.
Do you think that there's a way to make it in this business without cold calling?
So there's probably like 1,000 different ways to do it, honestly. So it sounds to me like you're asking questions of like, how do you get into real estate and you don't know anything, you don't really know anybody? Is that probably maybe a way that we're asking that question? And and that's like the thing. What a person should do, I think, or an agent should do, a new agent, or even a licensed one that maybe is now struggling because the market's gotten complex, is you just pick like kind of two ways to really to boost your business and or to build up your pipeline or your database or whatever. I'm always an advocate of being organized and thoughtful about how you approach people you already know and that you're familiar with. But another way to do it is you want to intercept consumers where they're at. And let me see, how would you say that differently? Is like you want to go be where your potential customers are going to be, right? And a really popular place right now is open houses. The problem that agents have with open houses is that they'll go do one and then, nobody showed up and they just give up. Right. So like when I started, I did like 8 a week for 50 weeks. I mean, you just like you have to go because you got to meet people. And if you think about open houses, sure, you're going to have neighbors and looky-loos and people that are bored and, maybe some other characters, but you're going to have people that are thinking about buying houses or they're checking out neighborhoods or they're checking out the city or they're sellers that are thinking about selling and they need to meet an agent and they're not sure how else to do it. So like the open house, I think the open house is the agent's best tool for building a business, mastering your craft, being intentional about your time, engaging the value you put on your time. It's the best tool out there for real estate agents. You
No,
asked
that's
about
great.
cold calling and you got to answer about open house.
Yeah. So, because the other thing, well, that I was going to ask as well is with the age of the internet, being able to look online at houses and seeing, I mean, like buying a mattress online, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's a thing now.
So let me ask you, what's
Is it
important about a mattress to you about a mattress? What's important about the policy online for the company that you buy the online mattress from?
right that they do have the free returns normally?
100%. Because you got to go,
Yeah.
you got to see how it feels, right? So like, it's the same thing online. Is like we can make things look amazing and we can make things sound amazing until you go try it out. Like you have no idea. You don't know what the community is like or what the trees situation are. What's the sunlight? Is there a train track back there? So like, yeah. But it's also like with people dating, right? You're like, okay, was this person real? I remember I did online dating a long 100 years ago. I remember what that was like. Yeah. I mean, so like the pictures are nice because it gets, if they do it right and it's, hopefully 100% truthful, then you get engaged in it and you want to go check it out. So agents, okay, I'm going to go on another pulpit here. Agents, if they're smart, they should be previewing houses to add value to the customers' lives. So like if you go and preview houses around your open house, you get to have intelligent conversations about, some of the other houses around you when people are asking about what's the neighborhood like and this is what I'm looking for. And you can say, well, actually, I saw a house down the street that's just like that. Let's go take a look at it, right? You've added like instant credibility and value for the consumer. So you asked about online pictures and I gave you a totally different answer. I'm really good at that.
Right. All right. Yeah. Well, and then along with that, say you're at the open house or say you're talking to a buyer and they hit you with the line, "Oh, we're just looking at the moment." How do you reply to that? What's kind of your hook, or really do you play the long game and you just say, "Okay, well, I got more stuff to show you." What are your thoughts
Yeah.
on that?
If you're an agent and somebody says I'm just looking and they happen to be at your open house, believe them. They're just looking. It's like when you walk in a clothing store, you're just looking, right? You don't want somebody pounding away on you. But they do need to be close by, right? You notice when in a clothing store, when you pick up a shirt, they're going to meander over and say, "Would you like a fitting room?" Right? A good one's going to. Well, it's similar in open houses. Give people the space. Be respectful of what they're saying. Just nod, yes, okay, you're just looking. That's a great way, as a great sales tactic, by the way, just in general, communication tactic. Repeat what they've said and nod your head yes. It makes them feel understood, you're listening, and then they don't hate your guts already, right? So they're just like they're engaged with you, or
Right.
at least they're like, this person's not a joke. So let them walk around, but be close by and kind of listen in to some questions you might have and be engaging. But the job at an open house is like you're not there to be like you're Superman or Superwoman. Your job in the open house is to be the deferential listening advisor, right? You want to demonstrate market knowledge and deference and respect in like 30 seconds. So you got
Yeah.
to figure out how best to do that. And
Well, that's a
usually,
great way to put it as well.
yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, like, yeah, that's a great way to put it. Of ultimately, because I think part of the very important things in an open house that seems very difficult, especially if they're not entirely familiar with you as a realtor, is how do you then gain their trust instead of just being there and showing, opening, instead of being the door opener, how do you be their realtor,
Yeah. Somebody told me a long time ago, Davin, like you're not trying to close the deal every time you meet someone. You're just trying to like get to the next step, right? You're just like earn the right to the next step. Don't try to hammer, like nobody wants to be hammered and like the commission breath thing. Like, no, I don't like it. Nobody likes it. Right. So you just like, look, I'm here to help. I have some information that you might be useful to you. I know the process. We've sold a lot of houses. We have an amazing team. Like, if you're going to talk to somebody, at least interview us. You don't say it like that, but like that in your mind, your goal is to like get them to say yes to just like having another meeting. And honestly, in an open house, your goal is just to get them to fricking sign in, right? Like,
Right.
hey, the seller's trying to keep track of all the people that's in their house. Just zap your information in here, and I promise we're not going to wear you out and all that. But there's stuff that they know when you're being authentic, and when you understand your place is to be respectful and that they're the boss. It's their needs that need to be met, not yours. Need to be met, not yours. And they get that you get that. And, then the process becomes a lot easier. And
Mhm.
man, open houses, man, you're on stage, right? So like you got to clean the leaves and make sure the lights all match, and it smells good, and there's no dog hair everywhere. Like you're on stage, right? That's your arena, and you're nesting, so to speak, to show people how you do things. And man, if you do a good job, they eat it up.
Right. Yeah. Would you, and I guess you'd say staying authentic, that just sounds tough when you're trying to sell ultimately. Is there a part of your mind that is just thinking, you know, don't worry about the sale. The sale will happen as we go. Let's just stay authentic and actually try to make a connection with these people for now. What are your thoughts on that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's easy to get caught up in the I need money now moment, I think, for agents. I mean, we just kind of perpetually live in that cycle until things get consistent. But real estate's a very emotional, stressful, it's a journey that's just like rigged to fail, especially if you're trying to get financing. There's so many like benchmarks that you have to get through. And you can either be a stressful leader or you could be a servant leader, I think. And the more servant oriented and the more, thoughtful and respectful again that you are, especially like the higher net worth, the people, not even that, just everybody in general, really just like they deserve to be treated with respect, just like you do. And, when you can couple like a high skill set or even a highly practiced skill set, right, for newer agents and, knowledge and demonstration around the process with, look, I'm just going to do whatever it takes to make sure you don't make a mistake and that you're happy and successful, and you can convey that, you can communicate that with other people, like they're going to believe you, right? And you're going to stand out. I promise you, you're going to stand out over like 98% of the other agents in the industry. It's just like people need to make that leap. Quit thinking about your grocery bill, which is really hard to do, right?
Right. Yeah.
And think about them. And next thing and 6 months later, whatever heck you've gone through to get there, like it starts to feel much more rewarding and better. right?
That makes sense. Yeah, kind of walking down. I mean, it's kind of like a path of patience, but one of those that'll eventually work itself out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing that, people always say, the whole be yourself, that it will kind of even itself out, I guess. I think that's
Yeah.
what I'm hearing.
So I have a thing about be yourself because
Yeah, let's talk about it.
we are all pretty interesting individual characters. And the consumers don't care who you are. They want to know how much you care about them. So you don't get to be yourself. You get to be
Okay.
yourself at home with your friends and your family. In the field, you're the servant leader that's there to help represent them. They do not care about you. They only care that you're, I promise, they only
Interesting.
care
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
if you care enough about them, right? And it's impossible to do that if you're trying to jam your, I'm not saying you are, but some people, they have their own agendas and things that they want to talk about all the time, and they don't care. They want to know if, they're going to get handled well, right? I mean,
Yeah.
is a high income, high commission, high revenue, all that stuff. There's a lot at stake. So if they know you respect that, then you're going to win. If you're making about anything else other than what's at stake, you got no chance. There's no survival rate.
No, that's awesome. That's a really good, because that's not something that you would think of at all. I mean, because it's such a, I guess, a personal business where it's human selling to another human. Also, yeah, the stakes is a really good way to put that. That is not something I would think about.
No,
Just going in and
and that's,
understanding.
yeah, it probably took me 15 years to figure that out. At first, I just wanted to help everybody. And then, well, I bought my first house and I went through that process and I was like, man, that was hard, right? Because you're
Well, that's
stressed out all the
another
way to
interesting
and
note.
even at closing, you're stressed out. And then you don't get to move in for 2 days because something didn't fund until too late. That's what happened. I didn't get to move in on the weekend I wanted to move in because it funded late and they wouldn't let me move in. So
Mm,
it was just like maximum stress load. Like,
right.
and then you're just like, all right, I'm starting to understand this process a little bit more from their perspective.
So then let's talk about that a little bit. Do you think it is very important? Obviously not everybody is going to have bought their own house, but do you think it's important to go through that process a little bit? Maybe go to open houses instead of hosting open houses, that kind of thing?
Oh yeah. I love that. I think that Davin, I think that like any effort you put into understanding your competition, understanding how to do things better, observation instead of Instagram, like anything you'll actually go experience in the real world. Like, it's so weird to me to have like I can't believe I'm fighting social media for like intelligent people to come out of the but like the more you get out in the field and you observe and see what the comp's doing, see what what's working, what's not working, then you shorten your like growth, man, not growth path, but like you just make it easier, right? Yeah, I mean, R&D, right? This is in the mastermind circles that I'm in, and I'm a small fish in some big ponds. R&D stands for rip off and duplicate, not research and development, right? So you just go rip off and duplicate what's working for other people. So you have a lot less brain damage around like trying to figure it out yourself because there's so many things to do. Yeah, go preview
Yeah.
houses, go see what the competition's doing, practice. There's some really easy things to practice. It's so easy. You just got to do it.
No, I mean that makes total sense. Because one thing that you probably wouldn't, or at least looking
Yeah.
outside, looking in, I really wouldn't think how much practice is actually necessary to be successful in the industry itself. I mean, there's script practicing, like you said, going to open houses, actually figuring out the right combination of things to talk, meet with people, setting up times. I guess there's a whole order of things to figure out, and it takes years to get confident in that
Yeah.
and then to really get proficient. Yeah.
Yeah. And for 20 or 30 minutes a day, like we have a buyer presentation, a seller presentation. We've got, a home valuation, dialogue path framework. I don't know if we're allowed to say script anymore. I can't keep up with all the rules. There's just like the more you practice. I mean, think about in modern history, Steph Curry shoots the ball like 1,000 times a day, right? Or something ridiculous, but he can make it from like anywhere on the planet. Well, it didn't just like happen. I mean, he had to put in the work. And you think about like professional athletes, actors, doctors, they go through like 12 years of school. I mean, like anybody who's a real master your craft type person that crushes it on income level and respect by peers level and all the things that people want to be recognized for. that get into this kind of business, like they practice, they practice, they practice. We only practice for like 15, 20 minutes a day. We should be doing it for 2 hours. It would serve the consumers better, it would serve the business better, it would serve the agents better, right? But the, when you're talking about high levels of income and, helping lots of families every year and, that kind of thing, like the more practice you get up front and not in the field, the faster that goes. If you practice it in the field, there's more casualties than if you just practice it within the team at home.
I see. Yeah. And that makes sense. So you would actually recommend, I guess, going home and having these conversations with people who aren't buying your houses currently, right? Like practice on the practice court,
Yeah,
I
dude,
suppose.
you know who your best people are, probably your kids, man. Because they'll ask weird questions and like, make you stumble a little bit. Like my kids know what my goals are this year, and I get pelted with them every day, right? So but it's whatever. You just, get your support system. It doesn't have to. I mean, I think there's AI chatbots you can use now for stuff. You just need a phone.
No, that makes sense. That's hilarious. Go out and get asked the most bizarre, strangest questions so that you
Yeah.
can, I mean, ultimately, and this is something that I just think is interesting. Would you recommend realtors taking like an improvisational class or like an acting class or anything like that?
I think Leslie did she wanted to do stand-up comedy. I don't remember where that landed. Again, anything that will help, I think is a good idea.
Just because it sounds like, yeah, as you put it, it just sounds like a very thinking fast, on your feet kind of thing,
It
you
is.
know?
Well, but if you practice it, then it's not, you don't have to think fast. You'll start to, because, the journey's like, there's a lot of obstacles in a journey, but it's not, the overall journey for a buyer or seller, like you can predict the questions they're going to ask. They're almost all the same. So the
Yeah.
more you practice what, the responses are based on what your capabilities are and what's going on in the market, then the easier that flow is. And then you get really good at it. You say it before they say it, right? And then like you've pre-handled objections and they're like, "Oh, this person knows exactly who I am. They're
Right.
reading my mind." So, I mean,
Reading their mind, yeah.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden, yeah, now so wow, that they know exactly what I'm looking for, going
Yeah,
back.
wow, they knew it before I knew it. That was amazing.
Right.
Yeah, and that really works well with sellers. The buyers they have all kinds of random stuff, but sellers generally all, they're worried about pretty much the same things most of the time.
Right, and that's really interesting as well, that the fact that the market is a two-sided coin, that you've got selling and buying. Is there any way to be successful in one without the other, or do you really have to focus on growing your craft in both buying and selling?
Yeah, no, you 100% can do just one. Generally, buyers are more fulfilling for agents because you get to kind of be the hero along the way, or you get to be the guide that guides the heroes along the way. It's usually it's a happier situation, happier emotional purchase, and you get to handle lots of things. You get to play offense a little bit on the buyer side. Selling's more methodical, more patience is required. Selling right now is akin to fishing. You've got to, get prepared. You got to have the right bait. You got to wait. And
Right.
then, you get a little nibble and you got to send in the expert to go close the deal, right? I mean, so like selling it's just a different psychology than buying. And oddly, for some reason, most agents that get into the business, their personalities are fit to match up with buyers better. So that's why you see like more people, like a listing agent does a gazillion listings. Like our team, we do a lot of listings because like I understand that process. And I understand the thinking. And it's not always just slash the price. It's like, look, here's the value, and I'm willing to wait for the right buyer to come along because this is the value, if that's the kind of property it is. So yeah, it's two totally different. It's easy. Like I think an agent can do both, but I think that agent's going to be really exhausted if they get to the
Okay.
end of the day and they've worked with one that's not their primary personality setup. I
Right,
know I
yeah,
loved working both, but at the end of the day, when I got home from buyers, like I was freaking exhausted, right? Because I mean, it's emotional. You're out there being excited and grumpy. I'm gonna fight and I'm gonna get this for you. Like, I mean,
yeah.
you gotta be able to handle it.
No, that makes sense, yeah. I mean, some people are made, yeah, better for some things, some for others,
Yeah,
buying, selling,
yeah,
that checks out. So then let's talk about, say you get all the way to the end of the process with a buyer, and it's been great up until now, but they're starting to get cold feet, say that you get to the end and that they start asking, for lower offers, lower prices.
yeah.
What's kind of your answer to that? Do you conform because you've gone all this way with them on this journey?
Yeah, so, like do a retrade. That's what that's called.
Right.
That's a good question. Usually, Davin, the cold feet comes after they've made an offer and it's been accepted, if it comes. And I'll walk you through this.
Okay.
You sit with a buyer and you get their, dream list, their wants and needs and their budget, and you go, get educated on the market and you look at stuff and you find one that like you can see it on their faces when they walk in. Literally, you can see it on their faces when they walk in. They're like, "Oh, y'all both love this. We need to figure out how to get it." So then you get it, and the negotiations don't go like perfect for the buyer because they went in really low and the seller's stubborn or whatever, right? They end up paying like $3,000 more than they want to, something silly like that. You literally they agree, they get through the next day. It's like, what are we doing? Every single buyer I know goes through that. They're just like, is this the right thing? We're not sure. And it's your job. Like, I understand. We went through this. I saw your faces. You both were like peeing in your pants. You were so excited or whatever, right? Whatever it was.
Right.
Probably shouldn't say that. You were both just like jumping up and down with joy. You were so excited. Well, let's revisit it, right? So the cold feet part comes in like at some point in the negotiations, especially if the negotiations get really sticky over like some dumb stuff, people can get like, they can change from "I love this house" to "F you," like really fast. Only a couple of times in 30 years, thousands of times of doing this, have I gotten to the end of a closing and a buyer has said, "I will only close on this if they lower the price right at the end." It's always a cash buyer, and it's usually like an investment property, and twice it's happened. So like the cold feet is real. It's not. It's like second guessing. Like, I mean, cold feet hit like that's a result of like if there's a newly married couple, or, there's not, there people are still trying to get to know each other or buying something together. They've gotten off center. There's a lot will happen there that the agent, like, you can't predict it. Like, and then all of a sudden,
Right.
like,
Well,
oh man, I got to deal with this now.
let's
Yeah.
I guess
So
let's talk about it. As acting as the therapist, is there any way to help them through that, figure it out, or is that even your place to
yeah, it's
figure out with
100% your
them?
place. And they may not say it, but if you're doing a good job, if you're a good listener and you're talking about what their goals are and you're reminding them of their goals and you're checking in with the goals, because goals are funny. They change throughout the course of like a home search, like the priorities change. So if you're doing a good job of that, then it's your job. It's not to like correct them. It's to remind them and say, look, these are the things you told me were important. Are they still important? You wanted this location, you wanted this tree, or, whatever it was. Is this still what's important to you? And reminding, like, getting them back to what they're like, getting them back onto the same page and to making sure that they agree on the priorities is what that job is. Yeah, it's like, I mean, honestly, you're helping people through self-discovery. So and sometimes it's a person, or it's a group of people, or a couple usually. And you're just like, these are still then, okay, well, if that's it, this is the best, and it fits your timeline, then this is what still, works. You're not going to save all of them because, sometimes when it's like really weird, then there's like other stuff going on.
Right.
But that's not normal. I mean, it's a little bit more common right now because everybody's just freaked out about everything for some reason. But yeah. So yeah, you're absolutely counselor. But again, it's not about you, it's about them. And in order for it to be about them, you've got to get them to self-realize what their priorities are and to confirm their priorities and to check in on their priorities and remind them who's like, who's going to be the happiest in the situation, who's going to be the, who's making if there's two people, someone's always compromising something. So you
Right.
just, you walk them through that stuff. And the more you like make it about them, man, the higher like your respect meter goes from their perspective. Like they like they're going to hold you in really high regard. I mean, I have walked people through I've talked them off all kinds of conversations. But that's where referrals come from, right? And that's where like advocacy comes from, and like it's the best thing you can do for your business. This is a fun one. You didn't ask this question. Like one of my favorite things to do to like earn trust faster, especially because people will get excited about what they see online.
Right.
And you're like, oh man, I love them. Like, you know what? Actually, I saw that house 2 days ago. Or go see it, right? Make sure you saw it. Back in the old days before the internet, it was really easy to say that. Go see it. Like, actually, I saw that, and it's got this funky blah blah blah, and like, I don't think that's for you. And they're like, oh, you're not just trying to sell me a house. right?
Right.
And like, and you like, you got them for life. You like, just don't screw it up after that. But like, that's the power of like market knowledge and understanding who they are and what they want,
No,
you
that's
know, and what
awesome.
some
Yeah,
obvious
yeah.
pluses and minuses are. Like, it's like, you can't be touched.
I mean, it really is you like knowing them, like actually going through and understanding why they would like this kind of thing. Yeah, that adds all kinds of value. And I mean, that goes back to what you were saying about go preview houses.
Dude, you
That's
gotta preview
right.
houses, Davin.
Please preview houses. Yes. So then I guess on a different tangent here, kind of back to the age of the internet, the fact that there are so many different ways and things that you can see. You can see houses, you can, find new people and all that. In your mind, is it important or is it more important to find new leads, or is it important to follow up with the old leads that you've already got, given the age of huge databases and
Yeah.
huge databases of people you don't know that you do already know? Now that we've talked
I
about houses.
love this question. The answer is you don't need more leads.
Okay.
The answer is you need to talk to more people. And you already know what I'm going to do, the people that you already know, right? But it's not even that. Like, we have a database of, I mean, it's not even that big by a lot of comparison, but we have like 25,000 people in our database. If we went through and we communicated with all of them, we'd sell 500 houses this year.
Right.
But we're not going to do that because we're too busy doing other stuff, right? So
Yeah.
we don't need more leads. Now, it's nice when the phone rings and they say, "Hey, I want to sell my house. Come take it out, check it out." Or like, "We're in town, like let's go." Like, I mean, you can sit around waiting for that, but Davin, you're not in control. You're a hostage to a situation that you have nothing to do with, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, if an agent who's serious about their business, but some people just want to get into the industry just to make some money and pay the bills. Like, I get it. It's fine. But a lot of people get into it because they want, you know, build a big business, build a team, recognition, all that stuff. Well, I mean, you're going to start holding your dollars accountable, and then you're going to realize you got millions of dollars invested in your database. And why in the world are you not following up with people that you've already indicated they may or want to buy or sell something in the near future? So like, man, you don't need more leads. You need consistent follow-up, and the money is in the follow-up every time. It doesn't matter if you didn't get it the first time. You might get it the second time or the third time. We just closed on I think it was a house, but it was 18 follow-ups before they hired us.
Wow.
18.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and so as well with that, along with that I mean, that's great. That's keep it up, keep the consistency, and eventually they'll come
100%.
around. So, but with that, how do you follow up? What's the strongest way to not be super annoying, but also, add value to them still?
Yeah. So this is a good question. I'll tell you
And I
how
guess
I did it
yeah.
when I was doing it on a day-to-day basis. Well, I can tell you how I do it with agents right now. I mean, it's pretty similar. I mean, the thing is like, you can't annoy people. So what is not annoying when you hear from somebody? And it's when you get something of value. So like, I can't, like, let's say, Davin, you're thinking about, you haven't done this, but like, you wanna sell a house or something like that. I'll be like, all right,
Yeah, you
listen.
know me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Hey, I've tried to reach out to you 5 times. I'm going to send you a text that says, "Hey, listen, the market's changed a little bit. Let me send you a new market valuation. Would that be okay?" Right? Because you want to get them to dialogue a little bit. Or, something even softer, like, "Hey, it's almost summertime. I've worked out a pre-negotiated deal for an HVA service for you. Can I connect them with you so you can have your air conditioning system cleaned up for next to nothing, because nobody wants their AC to go out in the summer, right? So there's
Right.
like little things you could do to like needle them along the way. You get everybody that owns real estate or is thinking about owning real estate in an area as an agent should be on something called a market report, and that it's different for every CRM, but even your MLS system has it. But it allows you to use some parameters to send a real estate update to somebody based on their wants and needs, and then you can monitor how often they're looking at it. And if they ping it like 3 times, call them and say, "Hey, it looks like you're checking things out. What do you want to know?" At the end of the year, you send are you ready for a free home valuation at there's certain cadences you can do, but the more you preview houses, the more you get to call people and say, "Hey, I saw this and thought of you." Right.
Okay.
And that that makes your life, in like, someone's looking at a house, they're thinking about selling a house in a neighborhood. Well, go preview all the houses. Hey, I just want to let you know, I just previewed this house that came up on the market. I know you haven't made a decision yet, but I want to let you know it compares positively or negatively to yours in this way. And I think it affects your value in this way. Right. And
Right.
you've just gone and you've given somebody information that like is more useful than any other widget out there online, and that no other agent will do it. So I'm like, the more you preview property, the more reasons you have to talk to people. Because when everybody sees you and they know you're in real estate, they want to ask you about real estate instead of saying, well, wait for interest rates to come down. Like, how dumb is that? You can read that on Yahoo, right? But, well, actually,
Yeah.
I just looked at these houses, and like you give them like some intelligent conversation pieces. You're the
Yeah, I
most
mean, yeah,
valuable
I mean, it
resource out
really
there.
does. It makes you more prepared for whenever that moment is going to come. Because yeah, a lot of times you're not going to know when it's there, or when that special moment is when you're going to actually hook, line, and
When you're
sinker.
gonna have your like, yeah, when it's time.
Mhm.
I was just saying, thinking, like you make yourself the resource, right? And so you just think about, and you can probably chat GPT it like, here's this person is thinking about doing XYZ on, within this time frame. What follow-up method should I do that adds value and doesn't wear them out? I mean, you could probably just use that prompt. I've never done that, but you could probably use that prompt and plug it in there and it'll tell you what to do, right? But you need to be prepared for some of these people to follow up with them 25 times. By the way, don't be offended when they don't answer the phone. You have no idea what's going on the other end of that, right? They could be shot, like they could be at a kid's, like they could be doing a million other things.
Right.
The human is not like conditioned to like try to screw you over by not answering your phone call, responding to your text message in 30 milliseconds, right? The people are busy.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to look at it. Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
be too cynical as well. Like, just kind of trust the process.
Keep doing your thing,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, that's right. But you got to be just consistent in your activities. And, we use, if somebody says they want to do something in 6 months, that means 3 months, and you got to follow up with them within a month, right? So, I mean, everybody's time frame is usually a lot more compact than they say it is because things happen. A lot of people wake up and realize, like, I'm tired of waiting. I need to get on.
Right.
And if you're not there, you're not staying top of mind, they're going to call the next person.
True. Yeah. So stay top of mind. Go preview houses. Go meet people.
Practice.
Open houses.
Yeah.
Right.
Dude, it's so basic right now. And we, it's our nature just to like complicate everything because there's so many options. There's so many people like trying to grab money out of your pocket all the time with their latest and greatest inventions. You just go talk to people and put yourself in success. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You do not have to spend a lot. We don't spend that much money anymore. We used to. We're just like, be service oriented, be value oriented, like it, and don't make it complicated. Talk to people.
Yeah. That sounds like the secret right there.
That will always be the secret. And it's not even a secret. It's just a thing that nobody wants to do. 87% of people check this. So everybody knows 87 or 90% of the agents fail and, within a couple of years because they refuse to do what we just talked about. But then beyond that, it's like 70% of those, we'll just say 20%, 70% sell less than 5 homes a year. So it's like, so 30, so what's the 7% of the agents sell like 95% of the business. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And literally, Davin, all you have to do is consistently talk to people every day and practice and learn. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. Yeah, but we complicate it.
I mean, that's the theme of this whole episode here.
All you have to do, yeah. I know I think this might be the only theme I have, right? I guess we can try and figure out, talk about sellers next. But yeah, I mean, yeah, these are great questions. I wasn't really expecting all that. What else you got?
And honestly, this seems like a perfect place to kind of draw it to a close. I think we've really put a nice bow tie on this. And I think everybody listening will have a great idea now of whether or not you're just starting or you're in the middle of it, where to go next, kind of look forward and go talk to people,
Go talk. And just, you said bow tie, made me think, I don't know why, I don't know, this might be weird, but we have like a schedule or like a calendar of things that you should do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and like who to talk to. If you want me to share that with you, just like click on the DM or respond, however you're watching or listening to this, just let me know and I'll send it to you. But
well,
kind
we can put an email in the description there.
Email, yeah. And just, it'll be like it'll help you kind of organize your day a little bit. And if you're not on appointments and you've made your calls, go look at houses and then take pictures of them and post them on social media. Holy cow, there's an idea.
Yeah. Booyah.
All right, man.
Well, awesome.
Good job.
Thank you so much for answering all these questions. And anybody who's watching right now, if you've got any questions, please put them down, comments or free fill, whatever. There's going to be an email to reach out to. Yeah.
Right on, man. Good to see you.
Rad.
See you. Get to work.
Bye.